Hello there and welcome to your next lesson on modelling the parts for the coupling link. Today's lesson is going to deal with looking at the hardest part, which is this retaining clip here, which you can see there's one of. Let's study the drawing and work out a couple of critical sizes. As you would expect, the distance of the centres of the hole for the retaining clip here and here is 100 millimeters apart. Obviously these holes have a direct relationship to the coupling above it. You can see that they are also 100 millimeters apart. Makes sense that they all fit together. Some other important information we can see here: we've got a diameter of 40, 25, diameter of 25, a radius of 10 and a distance of 32. I'd like to draw your attention to this distance of 32 here. You can see that the dimension line and the leader line extends. It's not actually pointing to this intersection here of the radius of 10. It's actually pointing to where this axis line intersects with the outline here, being distance from there to there being 32. So we need to take that into account when we do our drawing. The other piece of information that might not be so obvious, but you need to realise, is that this point here, this end point for the end of the retaining clip, is really not defined. The thing that gives us the position for this end point of the retaining clip here is realising that when these are put together, this retaining clip cannot protrude past the end of the coupling link. So if we zoom up here, we can see that the largest diameter for the coupling link is a diameter of 60. That means when that retaining clip goes over the top, the end of the retaining clip cannot protrude past there. So in actual fact, if I was to draw a circle from the centre of our axis here of a diameter 60, it would pass through these 2 points on the end of the retaining clip. We'll cover that as we get into the geometry. Okay, first thing to do is to go to Creo, open some new part, and then we'll probably start off with these two diameters of 25. As usual, new part, and this time we'll call it retaining underscore clip, and make sure it's on part and solid. Okay. Oh, someone's already got one. I'll just call it number 1. And okay. And our planes are here. Because it's going to be assembled in a flat sort of way, I'm going to start it on the base plane. Doesn't really matter. Click Sketch, of course, and start with geometry. Always start with the over the center of the axis here. 1, and wait for your R symbols to appear so these two circles will always remain the same. Select tool, and they were 100 millimeters apart, centers, and they were diameters of 25 if my memory serves me correctly. So let's flick back to PowerPoint. So we've got our two circles of 25 in. While we're there, we'll put in the other known information. So diameter of 40. Back to Creo. Where are you, Creo? There you are. Oh, computer's being weird. There we go. And a diameter of 40. I'll just pull these down so we can see them easier. And then we've got to go start looking at some of the more intricate information back in the PowerPoint. That's all the information on the left side. We've put the 100 in. Diameter of 25. Now we've got to use this information given to us here. Okay, so we said that this point, or this location for this line here, is 32 millimeters either side of this axis. So if I was to find the center line and measure distance out from there to there 16, we would then have a location for that point of that line. And we would assume then that if that point started there, we could draw a line from there to become tangent to this diameter of 40. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to draw myself basically a line along this axis, which is going to be 16 millimeters long, use it as a reference, and then draw this line here for the intersection. So back to Creo, and I'm just going to use line tool, intersection of the axis here, and draw a line down here at some size. While it's still selected, I'm going to right click on that, and I'm going to change that to a construction line. You'll see here it goes to a dashed line. Make it 16, which is half of 32. And now I have a point where I can start my line from. Before I start putting any tangency objects in, I'm going to also go around and select all my dimensions, all my constraints, and I'm going to lock them all. Simply select them, then right click, then click on lock. 16 here as well. Very important when you start doing some complex geometry. I might just pull this 100 down as well. Okay, so from my end of my line, which is 16 millimeters from the center, I'm going to go back to my line tool. I'm going to snap it to the start of that point. And as I move my cursor towards the diameter of 40, you can see it joins to it, but what I'm after is a join with a T on it to indicate tangency. Okay, end that point there, and I'm right to go. Back to our PowerPoint. You can see this line actually continues through. It's a straight line through this point and continues out a distance. So what we'll do, we'll just draw ourselves now a diameter of 60 around this center. Remember that diameter of 60 represents this diameter of 60 on the coupling here, but the retaining clip cannot protrude past the end of it. So diameter 60, circle tool, make sure it doesn't snap to anything, change it to 60, and now I'm going to use my line tool, snap to the end of that point, and I'm going to extend that line out. Now when you get those two red dashes appearing on it, that indicates that the two lines are parallel. You could just do it like that, end the line, and then come up to the parallel constraints up here. Click on parallel, click the first line, and then click the second line. It becomes parallel as well. Either way will be fine. Okay, so now this point here, where this straight line meets this diameter of 60, that is actually the very end of our retaining clip. So we go back to PowerPoint. It's actually this point here. What's our known information now? Well, it tells us that this radius of 10, which actually goes through that point, originates there. So if I could measure back 10 millimeters along that line, that would actually find me that center point. Then I could draw a radius of 10 in. So I'm just going to do this all on one side, just on the low side, and then I'm going to mirror everything back onto the top side. So back to Creo. I'm just going to delete the end of this here, so it's less confusing. And I'm going to use the circle tool here. I'm going to draw a circle with a radius of 10, which is actually going to be a diameter of 20. Make that 20. Now that's a diameter of 20, which means it's a radius of 10. So what all I've done here is constructed a circle to pass through this line 10 millimeters from the end. So I suppose it's just a construction method. While I'm there, I'll select that, right click, and make that a construction line. I could also do the same for this radius of 60 circle as well. Now you can see what happened then. I accidentally grabbed that and moved it, and it changed its size. I better change that back to 60, and I better lock that before I do anything else. And I'll just select that again, and construction. Okay, so I've now used my circle tool, and this time I'm actually going to snap it to where my construction circle meets that line. I can then snap it to the end, and we now have a diameter, or sorry, a radius of 10, indicating the end of the actual retaining clip here, coming back this direction. Okay, we're getting closer. What I might do while we're there is just delete this bottom half so it doesn't get too confusing. Back to PowerPoint. So we've got this arc, this straight line, this arc to here. Now if we study our drawing, we can see that from some point along here on this arc to back to here on this internal 25 diameter, we have a line of tangency, which means this line continues from there straight through all the way to this arc here. So to do that, I'm going to basically draw a line near where I want it to go. So I'm going to use my line tool. So somewhere around here, not letting it snap to anything. click a line there, and then somewhere around here it's got to finish. Make sure no constraints highlight. Finish my line, and then I'm going to come up to my tangency tool up here in the constraints box, select the line, and then select the arc that I want to be tangent to. Select the line, select the arc that I want to be tangent to. And that way we guarantee we're always going to get a point of tangency here and on here as well. Things are starting to look a bit better now. Might use my delete segment tool and just tidy up down here a little bit first. Zoom right in. Remember that this is going to eventually be one closed loop of lines. Might get rid of the center here. This one as well. That's okay. And work my way down the right hand side here, being selective about what I actually delete. Get rid of the end of that line first. And I need to get rid of that little bit. And this little section. This little section. And this section here and here. And while I'm there, like so. Now, like I said before, I'm going to do this in 2 halves, so I'll delete this half as well. And if I go to my select tool, we should end up with 2 red dots here, and everything else should be free from red dots, hopefully. Okay, so to be able to mirror all of that geometry about this line, I need this to be a center line. So using my center line, place one in like so, 2 clicks, then go to your select tool, put a box around everything that you wish to mirror, and simply click on the mirror icon and select the center line. Voila. If you're still in the select mode, if you've done everything correctly, we should have it filled in. There should be no red dots anywhere for any open loops. And last thing to check, of course, is the overlapping geometry. No pink lines, and then we've got happy days. Alright, simply click OK. And I think it was a thickness of 6. Yep, thickness of 6. And our retaining clip is all done, ready to go. Okay, it's not an easy part, and some interesting geometry questions there.